Alright guys, we're moving on to part 2 of quadratics. There we go. So we talked about solving by factoring. We talked about solving by completing the square. And now we're going to use the quadratic formula. So here's your quadratic formula up top. Remember, A, B, and C are your coefficients. So let's get to it. So we have the opposite of B. So here's your A, your B, and your C. Don't forget that negative. So here we have the opposite of B. So the opposite of 2 is negative 2, plus or minus the square root. B squared, so 2 squared is 4, minus 4 times A times C. So A is 2 and C is negative 1. And all of that is over 2 times A, which is 2. Alright, so we plugged. Now we're going to go through it. Definitely pay attention to order of operations here. There's a couple places people usually trip up. So we're going to take our time. So we have 4. Now understand this is 4 times 2 times negative 1. So you're going to get negative 8 here, minus negative becomes 4 plus 8. All over 4. And we're going to keep simplifying. I'm just going to take it one step at a time. 8 and 4 make 12. Now, tempting to stop here, but remember we have to simplify that square root. So we can write 12 as 4 times 3. And then we got negative 2 plus or minus, square root of 4 is 2. Take it out. Leave that 3 inside. And then last but not least, do go ahead and divide. So these are all divisible by 2. So we've got negative 1 plus or minus 2 root 3 divided by 2 is root 3. And 4 divided by 2 is 2. And there's your two answers. So it's negative 1 plus root 3 over 2 and negative 1 minus root 3 over 2. Let's do another one. Might actually do this down the side so I have more room instead of writing at the very bottom. So we have A, which is technically 1. Oops. B, which is negative 2. Where may I go? There it is. Oh. I'm sorry. And then C, which is 2. So we have opposite of B. So negative 2 becomes positive 2. Plus or minus the square root of B squared, so negative 2 squared is 4, minus 4 times A times C. All of that is over 2A. And we're going to simplify. We got 4 minus 8 over 2. And we wound up with 4 minus 8, which is negative 4. So remember, negative numbers, right? Those are imaginary. Square root of a negative 1 is imaginary, so square root of 4 is 2. Square root of negative 1 is I, still over 2. And everything's divisible by 2, so you got 1 plus or minus I. Everything was divisible by 2. So that's the quadratic. Again, you can use this every time. It's just there's a lot of room for mistakes. So I would try factoring first if it's possible. Notice these ones did not factor. These ones did not factor. There's nothing you can multiply to get 2. Right? Multiplies to get you 2 and adds to negative 2. Alright. The discriminant. So in the quadratic formula, everything that's under that square root b squared minus 4ac, is called the discriminant. And this tells you something about your solutions, right? If this number is positive, greater than 0, you're going to wind up with two real roots. So if you look back here, square root of 12 was positive, we wound up with 2 real roots. If the number is negative, you actually wind up with 2 imaginary solutions. So we're going to go back again. We look at example 7, right? I wound up with 1 plus I, 1 minus I. I wound up with 2 imaginary solutions. Look what was under that root, a negative 4. So positive discriminant gets you 2 real solutions. Negative discriminant gets you 2 imaginary solutions. And then there's that one case where it could actually equal 0. And understand what's going to happen. You're only going to have one answer. So your graph, you're going to see that one root. And these are kind of the graphs that go with it, right? 2 roots, it's going to cross your axis twice. 1 root, it's going to hit it once. And then imaginary, it's not going to cross that x-axis at all. So this one, they want us to compute the discriminant. So we're just going to do b squared minus 4ac. So b squared minus 4 times a times c. So we've got 36 minus 36, which is 0. So your discriminant is 0. And again, that means one solution. Oh, one real solution. Moving on to the next one. B squared, so negative 7 squared, minus 4 times A times C. So we've got 49. Negative is going to make plus 8 times 4, 32. And you get 81. So there's your discriminant. This is positive. This means we're going to have 2 real solutions, 2 real roots. And last but not least, we're going to do it again, b squared, so negative 2 squared, minus 4 times a times c. So we've got 4 minus 12 times 4 is 48, and we get negative 44. So my discriminant is negative 44. That gives me the 2 imaginary solutions. So that's how we're using the discriminant. It kind of tells you what to expect for your graph. All right, winding down to the last couple of examples. So this is a graph of blood pressure. Okay, of your blood pressure. And they do have a little formula for it as well. So they want you to use this formula and find out the age, we want A, for a woman whose normal systolic blood pressure is 115. So your pressure, P, is 115. Copy down all that other stuff, 0.1A squared plus 0.05A plus 107. So how do we solve this? We're definitely not going to be factoring this. We're going to be using the quadratic formula. So we're going to subtract that 115. Remember, you always want it to equal 0. 0.1A squared, 0.05A. And then 107 minus 115 gets me negative 8. And now we can plug into our quadratic. It's going to be ugly. So we have negative, the opposite of B, plus or minus B squared minus 4 times A times C. And all of that is over 2 times A. This is where a calculator comes in very, very handy. We're going to do these little piece by piece, but you're going to need a calculator for this. All right, so we have 0.05 squared is 0.0025. I know negative is going to make positive. So we got 4 times 0.01 times 8. It's going to get us 0.32. All of that is over 0.02. And we're going to go ahead and type this into the calculator. Do this and take the square root. Now, I do want to talk about your answer. Remember, you're winding up with two answers here. This plus this number divided and this minus this number. When you're talking about a real-world solution, we don't want a negative age. This should be age. So we're actually only going to look at the positive. So when I'm typing into my calculator, I'm going to have the 0.05. I just want the plus. No. Add those up, 3225. 0.3225. Don't know why it's doing that. And you can type that into your calculator, and you should get 25 point something, but we're talking about age, so we'll say they're about 26 years old. So they want you to check. They want you to check, verify your solution in the graph. So we want to know 115. 115 is about here-ish. And women, nope, stop it. Women are the blue graph. So we're a little bit before age 30. And so 26 years old, that's probably about a good estimate. All right, next one, last one. This should take you back to your geometry days. A 25-inch television set. Oh, in a 25-inch television set, the length of the screen's diagonal is 25. So you're talking about a TV set. All right, there's your right angles. The diagonal is 25 inches. The height is 15. And the width is, we don't know. And this is how they sell TVs. When they tell you it's a 52-inch TV, it's 52 inches for the diagonal. They gave you the hypotenuse. They gave you that biggest number. So we're going to set it up. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Right? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. A and b are your sides, so we can call them 15 and w. And c is always your hypotenuse across from your right angle. So we're going to do a little math here. And we've got 15 squared, which is 225, and w squared, and then 25 squared. Subtract 225 from both sides. And you got w squared equals 400. And then our last step, take the square root of both sides. Now remember, you're going to get two answers, right? But we're talking in terms of a TV. Do you think the width is negative 20 inches? No. So we only want that positive answer. We want positive 20 inches for the width. All right, and that's all for today. That should complete your notes for quadratics.